little helpful cue for you guys to be a little more aware of the way that how important the foot is and how important it is keeping it grounded in regards to your lower body movements, how it can really help with any kind of stability issues, how it protects the joints, and also how it helps us activate the correct muscles or the muscles we really want working. So I've used the lunge for this example, but it also applies to your squat and especially to your hinge, so any kind of deadlift or RDL variation. Super important that we keep that heel planted. So obviously, for a note for you guys, ball of the foot obviously here, heel through your heel. So if you are to lunge with your heel elevated, so hopefully you can see on the camera, it's going to create more of a balance challenge, so stability probably work a little bit harder for. It's also going to encourage any kind of knee instability issues, so really important to keep that heel planted. And then it's also going to change the movement and it'll be a little more core dominated because through the front of the foot, weight through the front, it's going to activate a little bit more through the front of the body. And as most of us know, it's not really hard to get the quads working. It's a lot more of a challenge to get the glutes and the hamstrings active, so we really want to focus on that instead. I'll give you an example after. So when our heel stays planted, we are more grounded, so you probably feel a little bit more stable in your lunge. The knee doesn't have as much room to shift, so it should track a lot nicer than if you've got your weight through your toes and your heel starts to lift. And then the movement should turn to more glute and hamstring dominated. So when you've got your weight through your heel, it's going to move more through the posterior chain. So obviously, front of the body, back of the body, posterior chain. We really ideally want to get our hamstrings and our glutes working in lower body movements. So hopefully you can see, if you're at home and you've got space to try this at home, this is a great thing to do, so you can actually feel it in your body yourself. If I have all my weight in my toes, you want to try and move your knee around, and obviously you guys will be able to agree I can move my knee a fair bit, so that if I come into a lunge position onto my toes, my knee has actually got heaps of room to be able to move around, and it's not super stable, not super safe for the joint, especially if I start to load it. Now if you plant your heel, so lift your toes, not like you do this in a lunge or a squat anyway, but for the sake of this, we're just going to lift our toes, all my weight is in my heels. Try and move your knee around here, and obviously you guys can agree by seeing on the camera, I'm not actually able to move that knee around as much, so that if I keep my weight in my heel as I lunge, my knee should be able to track a lot nicer, and I'm probably going to feel a lot more stable in that position as well. The other thing as well is because the knee doesn't have as much room to move, it's going to be safer for the joint. So this is a really great cue to think about for your lunge, also in relation to your squat as well, and then also through your hinge. Just a quick note, when we do any of these movements, it doesn't mean that we want to lift the front of the foot or lift the ball of the foot. We want to still keep our foot completely grounded, but if we keep our awareness or we keep the tension through the heel, it will help a little bit more with, once again, any kind of stability issues, any kind of joint protection, and then also helping activate the posterior chain.